Portion of this video is sponsored by Ugreen. Every half a decade or so, it's time to buy a new TV. And if you go to Best Buy, look online, it is a garbled mess of letters. And I think the brands are trying to confuse you on purpose. LED, OLED, QLED, Mini LED, Micro LED, Neo QLED, QNED. I do this for a living, and I had to look up half of those to understand fully what the technologies are and what they do. It's generally confusing. Now, for years, OLED's been the best of the best, but recently Mini LEDs have kind of come on strong and hit the market, sort of taking what QLED had done in the past and improving on it. So the big question, and the one that I want to answer here, I want to take two of the new leading TV techs out there and compare them and try to decide if QLED Mini LED TVs are ready and finally equipped to take the crown from OLED as the new king of TV tech. So for this reference, we'll be using what I consider to be the best version of an OLED and Mini LED TV set you can buy. There's a lot of OLED TV options out there from a lot of manufacturers. For this one, we're going to use what we consider to be the top, the LG C line. We're using the C1 for this, but there's the C2 available as well. And then on the QLED Mini LED side, there's a lot of manufacturers doing this as well. And we're going to be using a Samsung variant of the Neo QLED Mini LED TV. But if you're not looking at either of these two brands, maybe you're looking at a OLED TV from Sony, which I should say LG makes those panels for, or looking at a Mini LED TV from, let's say, TCL, the general tenements of this video and the technology behind it is still going to be the same. So now, like I said, OLED technology hasn't changed all that much when it comes to how the tech actually works. You still have each individual pixel on the screen acting like its own light source, which can turn on, change color, and then when needed, turn off, which is how OLED sets get those really deep, dark blacks, because they're just off. QLED technology is basically the evolution of existing LCD tech. It uses hundreds of LEDs in a backlight panel as its light source. This allows for a much brighter image, but at the sometimes sacrifice of black levels, never getting perfectly black, just some version of usually dark gray. Broadly speaking, at least, Mini LED is kind of the spiritual evolution of the QLED tech. It uses the exact same technology as QLED displays, except it takes the hundreds of LEDs that backlight to QLED displays and shrinks them down. So now thousands can fit into that panel. This means Mini LED displays will have more local dimming zones, which will help create sharper contrast, deeper blacks, and less blooming around bright objects. So in theory, what you're getting with a Mini LED set is the awesome brightness and vibrancy of QLED set with the contrast and sharpness of black levels that are now really approaching an OLED set, and generally at least at a cheaper price. So right there, it probably sounds like a clear winner, right? If it's less expensive, the brightness tends to be better, and black levels are good enough, Mini LED is the winner. Not entirely the case. There's a few really compelling reasons why OLED would still remain king here. So let's talk about them. So with OLED sets, there's a lot of advantages. For one, the design is usually more striking. Since there isn't a backlit panel, companies tend to take advantage of that lack of real estate needed and make the displays just razor thin. And LG is obviously, take a look, one of those companies. So Samsung and other Mini LED TVs are still pretty thin and surprisingly thin considering that the backlight panels are in there, but they are generally thicker due to, they need that light source. And because of that backlit panel, Mini LED still suffers from dimming and color shift, the further you stray from viewing the screen straight on. In all fairness, the viewing angles have gotten better as generations of TVs have improved, but still, there's a sweet spot and then there's less ideal seating positions. So with OLED sets, individual diodes give OLEDs their signature black levels, as they have the ability to just straight up turn off. And not only are you getting perfect contrast, but you're also getting insanely accurate color reproduction. And the image feels rich, the colors pop off the screen, it looks awesome. OLED is unmatched in image quality as long as you've got the right settings. And again, big caveats here as well. If you watch TV in the evening or night, or you can control the light in your room to keep it darker, I mean, OLED is just not so good. However, the second, you turn on a lamp or the sun comes out, OLED panels suddenly become less ideal. Now, new 2022 sets have gotten brighter in all fairness, but they're still not at the brightness level of mini LEDs. Mini LEDs do not suffer from that problem. They are some of the brightest TVs out that you can get. But if you primarily watch TV in a darker setting, then you might find the mini LED set sometimes even be too bright. And this is a weird thing. So if you go to a Best Buy or any store that has these sets up, typically they got overhead lights, but the TVs are calibrated. So looking at an OLED versus looking at a mini LED in those bright environments, you might not notice a huge difference. But if you can see the sets side by side in a darker setting, it'll be relatively apparent which one is which. So I think the question here is, where are you gonna put your set and which stuff do you care about? Is it brightness at your jam? Then decision's made for you. Or is it black levels that you care about? In which case, decision made for you too. Probably the last thing to consider, and maybe the biggest one, is that OLEDs are expensive and generally much more expensive than a mini LED panel. OLEDs have come down in price over the years, but they are still way above the price point of mini LED, which tends to be around the price of like an expensive QLED set. While picking the right TV can be a tough decision, one decision that I can make very easy for you is to ditch all of your old charging bricks and get one that can do absolutely everything. So this is the Nexode 100 by this video's sponsor, Ugreen. The 100, there's a lot of spoilers there, but it gives you 100 watts of power using the latest GaN chip inside. It's got 3 USB Type-C ports and 1 USB Type-A port, and this thing can juice up all your things. The Big Daddy 16-inch MacBook Pro from 0 to 100 in an hour and a half. An iPhone 13 from 0 to 60% in 30 minutes. This thing is 3 times faster than that absolutely garbage power brick that comes with your iPhone. You could charge your laptop, your tablet, your friend's laptop and tablet, and still have ports left over, all in a very small, pocketable, or more realistically, backpackable size. It is awesome. It works as advertised, and because it has so many ports, it's really all you need while traveling or going to school. And again, because using the latest GaN technology, it will juice everything up crazy fast. If you want to pick up the Nexode 100 for yourself, put all the links down below. All right, let's talk about mini LED a bit more, because despite not being able to hit perfect blacks like OLEDs, they do a lot of things really well. And there are some pretty major advantages to that backlit panel. The biggest one is brightness. OLED just can't match the brightness of a mini LED panel. So that brightness obviously comes in handy if you're in a bright room. If your TV is typically you're right next to a window, or you like to keep all the lights on, mini LED is perfect for you. Colors are vibrant, HDR looks incredible, and these sets are really color accurate all the way to peak brightness. But with that brightness again, you sacrifice black levels. And granted, mini LEDs go a long way in helping produce sort of a deeper blacks than traditional QLED will, thanks to increased local dimming zones. But at the end of the day, it's still some version of gray, even if your brain might interpret it as black. But to the mini LED's credit, this is the best version of a backlit panel that I've ever really seen to date. So since this is the evolution of a QLED panel, things like blooming, where you could see halo effects around very bright objects, look noticeably better, and viewing angles have improved since like the early days of QLED. But neither of those are at the levels of an OLED set. OLED sets are producing these perfect contrast levels, have incredible viewing angles that mini LED, while better than QLED, still is not as good as OLED in those areas. If you're the type of buyer who's upgrading from a QLED set and you just want something drastically different, you might be drawn to OLED. But the difference between some of the early QLED sets and now the mini LED sets is still really drastic. So you'll get that same sort of newness look no matter which set you decide to go for. Where mini LED does win out though, again, is in price You can buy multiple mini LED sets for the price of one OLED set, generally speaking. So if price is a factor, mini LED will be much easier on your wallet. Speaking of price, you have the ability to go up in resolution from 4K to 8K for around the same price as a 4K OLED. But if you wanted an 8K OLED, you're paying close to $10,000, at least as of this filming, so keep that in mind. And if all of this wasn't enough, micro LED is coming to sort of be more mainstream relatively soon. And that's gonna be a whole other discussion comparing what micro LED can do versus what OLED can do. And you're probably thinking micro LED is just a smaller version of mini. There's relatively different from what we've got right now. So we'll make that video when I get my hands on a micro LED set. So this is a tough decision. If you asked me a year ago, it would have been OLED all day, every day, no matter what. But having spent a lot of time looking at these mini LED sets and sort of seeing how good they look, and ultimately when my TV is up on a wall, I'm hard pressed to not go and buy a mini LED set. I have a lot of natural light where my main TV is. Generally, I'm sitting in front of it anyway, and be able to get 8K, well, there's not a lot of 8K content out there. A lot of TVs will upscale. I feel it's a bit more future-proof. For me, I think I'm gonna save the cash and probably go mini LED. But if you are in a darker area and you really want those incredible blacks, you cannot go wrong with an OLED set. And if you got the money to spend, OLED is still an incredible buy.